Well, welcome back to the Grapple Theory podcast. Today we are joined by a very special guest. It is someone who's had a fantastic year in British wrestling this year. Please welcome to the show, Elijah. Elijah, thanks so much for being here. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. No, thank you for being here. Like I said just then, you've had a brilliant year, a brilliant 12 months, coming up to the end of the year now. Would it be fair to say that you must be pleased with how 2023 has gone for you?
100%. I think probably this year has been my favorite year in wrestling. I think I've had some of my best matches, and I think I've been like the most consistent I've ever been. Sort of like pretty much every weekend this year, I've had at least a show. And yeah, I just feel like it's been non-stop this year, which is really cool. I'm excited.
Which is good. It's good. It's always good to be busy. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's actually funny you say that, because we've had so many people say that this year about how this year has been their best year in wrestling. And like, it seems like that seems to be like a running theme in terms of the fact that, like, obviously wrestling took a little while to come back after the pandemic and everyone was just finding their stride again. And this year seems like it's been the year where everyone's stride is sort of back and we're back to sort of like full flow, as it were.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think it's also a case that there's a lot of people that were just bubbling under the surface before, and now where those people are stepping up, everyone's had to step up as well. And it's just like, it feels like there's just a good wave of talent around the country at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. It's that sort of thing, isn't it, where I think we've said to other people as well, and certainly in my opinion, where like almost things like, obviously in terms of the bad stuff, obviously it was bad, like the pandemic and things like that, but in terms of the fact that a lot of wrestlers moved on, signed contracts places, to get the income, it gave a big platform to those wrestlers who are like, again, like you say, just sort of like bubbling underneath the surface to step into those roles and make that name for themselves.
100%, yeah.
Which is awesome. I think it's been a good year for British wrestling, I think. Absolutely. And for yourself as well. And we'll talk about a few of those things in this chat. And like, I think one thing I want to get onto straight away is something that happened as a time recording just 2 days ago. Because I wanted to talk to you about Resurgence, your relationship there, and the Munnywood Blondes. But 2 days ago, I mean, for anyone who doesn't see, obviously you and Gene lost the tag titles, and now it seems like the Munnywood Blondes are not a thing anymore, right? Are you going at it sort of a more serious angle, the two of you?
Yeah, it seems to be going that way. We obviously lost the belts 2 days ago, with the added stipulation that if we did lose them, the Munnywood Blondes would be no more.
Rain Leverkusen, who would have thought? Such heelish behaviour from her.
I wasn't expecting it at all. I was quite excited when she came out, but it didn't go the way we...
No, it soon turned sour, didn't it? It soon turned sour. Very upsetting, Rain. How could you? But I mean, how has that partnership been for you? And working with, obviously, like, Gene is fantastic as well. We've had so many people come on and say it. But in terms of doing something like the Munnywood Blondes, where it's been able to, for both of you, like, flex that more creative side, have these, like, really fun but also really strong matches, whilst making them creative and funny and enjoyable, like, in all those aspects. How has that been for you, that whole run?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. It's scratching that itch of sort of creativity, thinking outside the box. And like the comedy side of things is something that I have done quite a bit with promotions like Attack and, some stuff closer to home. But working with Gene Munny on that is just so much fun. And like, we kind of just bounce off each other quite well. So it's been interesting to just be given that platform to kind of do what we want with it. Because they've been very good at Resurgence at just kind of saying, this is the rough premise, you do your thing.
I was going to say, they've given you a lot of creative freedom with it seems.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes we don't know what we're going to do until we get there. So bouncing off each other and just kind of having fun with it has been the best bit, I think.
No, that's brilliant. Yeah. I mean, like, the other thing, that the two of you work that so well, and I think that's the sort of thing that I feel in my mind as well goes really underappreciated. I feel like there's almost like a stigma with, like, comedy wrestlers, that like it's just a thing, like, that you're there to, like, make people laugh and, like, the matches don't really matter, but they do, and, like, you still have cracking matches behind the comedy. But even if you didn't, like, it takes a lot of skill to be that sort of wrestler in the first place, to know what the crowd is going to love and what they're going to react to.
Yeah, there's a lot of different intricacies to kind of bringing the funny to a match, but having it still make sense, whilst also trying to tell the stories. And I think it's just been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'll be interesting now for me and Gene to see how well Elijah and Gene work together.
Yes, yeah, away from the blondes. Yeah, absolutely. Who do you think pulls off the wig better?
Oh, definitely me.
Yeah.
100%.
I was going to say, like, especially the last sort of like 12, 18 months or so, you like a wig in Resurgence, don't you? You sort of, they like to put you in a wig and get you dressed up.
I love a costume. It's why I've always loved wrestling at Attack, and getting to do it at Resurgence in various different characters has been a lot of fun too.
Yeah. Do you have a highlight? Is like Munnywood Blondes the highlight of that, or like, because I mean you've been like old lady Elijah as well, haven't you? As well, and like.
Yeah, I think Granny Elijah was a bit of a random one because that was very last minute. I was a replacement for somebody actually.
Oh right, okay.
So I found out the morning of that I was doing Granny Elijah. So
that was the Rumble, wasn't it? Like no Battle Royal, wasn't it? Like where Alexis was Big Daddy and stuff like that, wasn't it? Or am I mistaken?
Yeah, it was the traditional British scramble.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Warren Banks was like Gentleman Warren Banks stuff. That was a wild match. That was like, I think that was one of the best matches I've seen live, just for the pure comedy of it.
Oh, thank you.
That was fantastic.
I think for me, Resurgence has been a place that I think they cottoned on quite quickly that I was up for doing that kind of stuff. It's not something that I do often most other places. So I think the first one we did was what was it? The Reservoir Dogs match.
Yes. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then from there, I think they've just given me so much trust to do those kind of things. And it's paid off, and it's helped me with my creativity and kind of showing a slightly different side to myself, because I know I can come across sometimes a bit serious, and it's nice to have at least one place where I can, for lack of a better term, let my hair down and just have some fun with stuff. So
yeah, I was going to say it must be like almost like cathartic in a way, almost like an outlet when, like you say, you're doing like a lot of serious stuff, to be able to have that outlet to like just let stuff go.
Yeah, definitely. And it just makes you think differently about how you're being creative with wrestling. So
yeah,
no harm in that as far as
absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's all fun. It's all fun. And like you say, close to home, obviously we'll get on to Attack as well. I want to talk to you about New Wave, because obviously as of time recording is still the champion. This will go out that week before the sort of like double header shows that New Wave got. And I recorded just a couple of days ago actually with Brendan White, talking about New Wave and the Academy and stuff like that. And I was saying to him, it's just like, I'm just like not baffled in my mind, but like I can't comprehend how good the Welsh scene is at the minute, and like what's happened that's made it that way. Because I said to him, it's like there's something in the water at the minute where like you just look at the Welsh scene and everyone coming out of it is just getting better and better, and like you're like, how is this happening? Like as someone who works in it as part of it, like can you put your finger on a thing that has made this scene, especially in the last sort of like 4 or 5 years, just really take off?
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to repeat a lot of stuff that Brendan said if you've had him on already, but it is definitely a case of like a good, for lack of a better word, like family unit there, and everyone supporting each other. There's a lot of iron sharpening iron and just like bringing each other up. And I think realistically we had a good scene there before New Wave, sort of people like Nico, Brendan, Danny Jones, myself, Harrison Bennett, and then New Wave has just brought us all closer. And then now that we've got newer talent coming through, people like Alex Vaughan, who's incredible, it's just like we're all helping each other, and it makes everyone a better wrestler. And we're all taking little bits from each other, little bits of advice, and those shows as well, the New Wave shows, are a perfect example of that, where everybody watches each other's matches. Everybody's giving each other as much kind of like sort of feedback and encouragement. And it's good vibes is the only way I can kind of describe it. We come to training to enjoy it and to be better wrestlers. We come to the shows to enjoy it and be better wrestlers. And I like to think that can be seen by how good we are as wrestlers at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the training level is just incredible as well. We've got obviously Mike Hitchman, Wild Boar, Brendan, Nico, Danny Luna. just insane. Like, there's so much good talent there coaching.
Yeah.
And even with New Wave West Midlands now, with Flash Morgan Webster as well.
It really is that, like, iron sharpens iron kind of thing, isn't it? Like, just absolute. When you're in there with that much good talent, it's like, how can everyone not improve?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But also, people come to training and to the shows in the mindset of they want to improve. There's nobody that thinks they're better than getting advice or knuckling down and doing some training, and that's what makes you a better wrestler at the end of the day, is always being open to improving.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's something we do very well at New Wave.
Yeah, no, well said. And like Brendan said again about, and I'm keen to get your thoughts on it, in the fact that he said at the minute, especially, it seems like obviously, you know, you guys at New Wave work with like Attack and No Mercy and Slam Masters. And like he said, it's really cool to see the fact that like the Welsh scene is just sort of working together at the minute, all these promotions. Whereas I think just Brit Rest in general, in the past, it's been a case where maybe that hasn't been a thing. And like companies sort of are, you know, looking out for just themselves. But when a scene can bind together and work to improve the whole like country as a scene, that's when you really see that talent shine.
100%. And that little kind of like corner of the Southwest, like even going across the border from Wales into Bristol with like Pro Wrestling Chaos, like between Chaos, Attack, New Wave, like you said, Slam Masters, No Mercy, you can just reel them off. There's something happening somewhere at all times in that area.
Yeah.
And as much as it feels like sometimes it's quite a compressed scene, it's busy.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, so myself, like, I live in London, and, like, before that, I lived in Brighton. So I've never, like, you know, for a long period of time, been to, like, the Southwest. I've been on, like, little short trips for wrestling, for, like, little holidays and stuff. Yeah. But as someone, again, who's sort of away from that scene, it seems like the Southwest in Wales is, like, the place to be wrestling-wise at the minute. Like, I feel for, like, again, during, like, I guess the boom, like, 2017, 2018, 2019, it was London. And then coming back, like, the North has been thriving. But I feel like now that the Southwest is really, like, showing its mettle and being like, we're worth paying attention to. You need to be here for these shows.
Definitely. I think it's on the cusp of it, because I do feel like, obviously, a lot of the attention is on the bigger promotions, London, like you said, Northwest. And it's just like, we're almost there to a point where I feel like we can compete with that. Not necessarily talent-wise, but just by, like, the size of the shows. And, for example, Attack coming back this year, like, the size of the crowds that are showing up to Attack shows is amazing. Chaos ran their 10th anniversary last month, which was, like, 450 people. It's like, everything feels like it's growing at the moment.
Yeah, so which is brilliant.
It's a very exciting time.
Yeah, long may it continue. Long may it continue. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. And I want to talk to you again, obviously, as New Wave champ, about that title. Because obviously it's obvious like how much it means to you when you see you like in the ring there and things like that. It's obvious how much it means to you. Like, is it that feeling of, again, almost like, you know, like home promotion kind of vibes, where that title just means a bit more, like having picked it up because of like the history behind, like, again, just like the Welsh scene and coming through it?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's super important to me because it is home. It's the place I train. And like I said, I just reeled off like some of the wrestlers that we've got there. So to be a champion of a show that has that caliber of wrestler on the card, I think that's just speaks for New Wave as a whole anyway.
Yeah.
But the level of matches that I've been lucky to have this year for that title, for the defenses, and even winning it off James Ellis, who I'm sure I'll speak about a lot on this podcast. They're just matches that have taken me up and up and up as the year's gone on. And they're shows I look forward to for that reason.
Yeah.
You know, getting in there with Michael Oku, Danny Luna, Harrison Bennett, and like...
Some good talent there. Some good talent, you know, some all right talent, you know.
Just a little bit. But every match is a test. And I think, for me, I've never been in that position where I've been the champion at a promotion for a long period of time anyway, as a singles wrestler. So it's been a test this year, I think, for me. Yeah. And I like to think that I've done pretty well out of it and shown that I could be in that position. So hopefully in the long run that'll open some doors elsewhere, and maybe that's something I can do in other places.
No, for sure. I do definitely agree. And I was going to say, actually, that match, I wanted to bring up your last title defense against Danny Luna. Like, that was a great match. That was a brilliant match. And like, again, Danny's someone who's, again, like so synonymous with that scene and has like had such a great year, especially coming back from the injury that she had as well. Like, it's just been awesome to see her like thrive and progress as well. And like having those sort of matches, it's just wild. It's just wild how good the wrestling is in them.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like we talk about that match quite a lot because neither of us were really sure how that one was going to go. We've never wrestled each other before, and it was just like chemistry from the get-go. So I was very, very happy with that one.
I was going to say, is there like, because that's interesting you say, yeah, that makes me think like, is there that apprehension sometimes going into matches with, especially someone like you've known for a long time, that like, maybe there's like the assumption that the chemistry will be there, but you're like, oh, what if it's not once we actually get in the ring? Like, is there that worry?
Yeah. Sometimes. I think you can kind of tell as soon as you start as soon as you get going, you can feel how it's going to go. And that was one where as soon as we kind of touched in there, it was game time.
Yeah. So, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, it's fine. It's all clicking. It's all good.
Yeah.
No, that was a great match. And the one you had to win the title, like James Ellis is someone, again, who's, I feel like just had a great year, like really almost like that sort of like breakout star from the scene, you know what I mean? Like someone who'd maybe gone a bit under the radar and now is getting a lot of bookings and getting different places and like making a name for himself.
100%. James is great. He's the person I've wrestled the most this year. And possibly the person I've wrestled the most ever. But yeah, he's great. And every time I get in the ring with him, it's a different match. And it's just like, it improves each time. And the kind of level of what we're doing gets better each time. And he's a perfect opponent for me to bounce off, I think. So I've had a lot of fun with James this year.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you have an opponent like that who you face so much, like, can you see it in both of you, like, the sort of like progression, the changes you're making, like when you're in the ring together for like, you know, the first time, the second time, the fifth time, all that sort of stuff. Can you see those progressions in both your work?
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, the proof of that was in the pudding. We had a triple threat match, a promotion called Pro Wrestling Carnage. And at that point, I think that was probably the 9th time we've wrestled each other this year.
Oh, is that it?
And we could feel it just putting that match together with somebody that hasn't worked with us that often. The chemistry between me and James was so clear that it was almost like putting a match together, just 2 people rather than 3.
Yeah.
Because we just know each other so well that we're almost like doing each other's work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, and it takes that pressure off that like third person because like they're like, oh, like, okay, you just sort of go with the flow of it.
Yeah, they're in safe hands.
Yeah, no, which is brilliant. And it's like fantastic. And well, obviously, like we mentioned before, New Wave got a couple of shows coming up in December. At the time of recording a couple of weeks ago, by the time this goes out, it'll be sort of like that week of the shows. Obviously, you're walking in the champ to those 2 shows. Are you confident that you'll be walking out the champ?
It's an interesting one. So they've been building up this match all year. It's the end of year scramble. So across the last 6 months, people have been competing to take the spots in that match. And there's some people in there that I've already defended the title against. Danny Luna's in there. Harrison Bennett's in there. James Ellis is in there. Alex Vaughan's in there, who's got a pinfall victory over me at New Wave. It was over a year ago, but still stands.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Connor Mills is in there as well, who I wrestled in a 4-way last month. There's a lot of very good wrestlers in there, and I think they're all people that I've beaten one-on-one. But when there's 6 of us in the ring,
you never know,
and they're all that talented, I think it could get a little bit tricky. So
it gets a little messy then, doesn't it? Yeah,
I'm hopeful that I can walk out with the title, but
yeah, be a nice Christmas present, wouldn't it, to keep hold of it.
But it is a star-studded main event.
I was going to say it's nice though, isn't it? It's sort of like you say with people you faced, like especially like in the last year or so. It's almost like a little like throwback journey of like the year that you've had and the reign that you've had. That there's all these people and a couple of new ones, obviously, but like a lot of these people that you've already beaten and like faced off as well that just want that redemption.
Yeah, it's a nice nice end to the year, I think. Kind of rounds it up, like you said.
Yeah, for sure. As long as you keep hold of the title, of course. As long as you keep hold of it. No, brilliant. And you mentioned attack as well, obviously. Like, you spoke to Brendan about this. We spoke to Boar about this when we had him on as well. Like, it felt like, again, like when we talk about the Welsh scene, it felt like, not that was like a catalyst for it becoming, but like that was such a pivotal moment for like eyes beyond Wales coming back to the Welsh scene. Do you know what I mean? Like where they were like, oh shit, Attack's back. And then check out Attack, and then like, oh shit, there's all this other talent, like all these other promotions that are putting on these banging matches. But it felt like Attack was such a big moment for British wrestling and for Wales in particular, whereby like it just created that buzz again. Do you know what I mean? Like as a fan outside of it, did it feel like, I'm just wondering if it felt like that from your point of view, because as a fan again who lives in London and like doesn't get to see the Southwest scene as much as I would like, it felt like that from my point of view. But did it feel like that for you guys?
Yeah, it really did. I mean, like Attack, it was a case of lucky timing for me. I think I was kind of just coming through and starting to get bookings on shows as Attack was kind of hitting its peak, really. So I got opportunities there quite early on in my career. And I'd say for the longest time, Attack was home, really. It was probably the place I was wrestling the most for sort of 3 or 4 years. And then obviously it went away. And those first shows back, the Attack is back. Well, we did Mandrew's secret birthday bash.
Yeah, that was wild. The way that went viral was incredible.
That was like the hardest secret to keep ever.
I was gonna say, I know like a few people who like are sort of like, you know, ear close to the ground with the scene, and not even they knew about it. And I was like, how did no one know about it?
Yeah, it's crazy. Actually, on the poster, there's like it's hidden in the letters. It says "Attack is back" in the Mandrew's birthday bash logo. But that was an awesome one, the return. But then the actual big Attack is back weekend, we did at Prism in the nightclub, and just having that set up with like big screen entrance and like proper lighting, good sound system, it felt huge.
Yeah.
And like I remember making my entrance on that first night. I think I had a 4-way, and I just had goosebumps. Like I haven't had that for a very long time. You kind of just get used to getting out there and getting it done. But I stood up on the top and got that kind of reaction, and it was a big deal. It was definitely a big deal.
I think that's when you know,
it felt
isn't
as
it?
big
like,
for us as it looked, I think.
Yeah, I think that's when you know, isn't it? Like, again, for people like you said, like, you know, when you're doing it week in, week out, making an entrance, it sort of like almost becomes second nature. And so, like, I imagine that, like, goosebump feeling is like, that's when you know you're on something special, right? Because you're like, oh, this is different. I haven't had this for a long time.
Yeah. I was like out of breath on my entrance, just not even because I was doing anything like strenuous. It was just like overwhelming.
No, I loved it. I think it was great. Like again with like the birthday bash and then the full return, it sort of reminded me of like, you know, when a band's been away for a while and they'll announce like a big show, but before that they'll do like a really tiny show. Yeah, it felt like that, where you had like the small return and then the big return, and both had such energy. It was wild. Yeah,
it was very cool. And then we've been lucky then that Attack's just been back on form this year.
Yeah, some
back
banging
into
matches.
The walkabout and back in Cathays. It's just been cool to be back in those venues as well.
Yeah, almost like a nostalgia kind of feel, as well as like, it's weird, isn't it, when that feeling is like, it's nostalgic, but also like looking to the future. It's like a bit of both.
Yeah. There's a lot of nostalgia to it, and even having some of the characters back, like we've got Old Papa Sunflower back, and like obviously there's characters that were born in Attack that have made a name elsewhere now, like Splits But Pins.
Yeah.
And it feels a little bit like Attack is back, and it feels like Attack, but the talent is a little different, and everyone that was kind of like the lower end of the card has stepped up. So
yeah, again, it's like almost like that progression from like the pre-pandemic era is like, it's just really cool to see that those people that like are like almost pretty synonymous with a promotion, but were a lot lower down when that promotion was like running before, and now they're at the top of the card, and you're like, oh, hang on, how did this happen?
Yeah, it's very cool. And like a few extra people as well that kind of weren't around so much before, like Nino Bryan. He's been on quite a lot of the shows, and he's fantastic. We had Sapphire Reed on one. Like, it's cool seeing the talent from London that are coming through, getting shots down with us at Attack as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's nice to mix it up with those guys. So.
I was going to say that's the thing, isn't it? I said to Brendan as well, and I said to Bora as well, actually, that both talent wise and fan wise, again, taking it back to like pre-pandemic, it seemed like it was like, oh, like London's like the place to be. You know what I mean? Like if you're a wrestler in like Wales or the North Stand, you want that booking in London. But now, if you're a fan or a wrestler, it seems like you want the booking in the Southwest. Like it's like I know like fans again who have said like, oh, for them the draw, they used to be like, oh, we'll have a weekend in London and go to a show. And now it's like, oh, how can I plan a weekend in Wales and go to a show? Yeah. And that just shows how far it's come again, right?
Yeah, it started to work out as well, sort of towards the tail end of this year, that oftentimes it would be New Wave on the Friday, Chaos would run on the Saturday, and then if you're lucky, maybe there's an Attack show on the Sunday or a No Mercy on the Sunday. You can get a full weekend out of it easily.
Yeah, make it worthwhile. Like, why not, right? If you're going to be there, like, stack it all. Again, like, scene working together to make sure everyone benefits from it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it's brilliancy. It's brilliancy. Well, I think that brings us nicely onto our first, like, little fun feature of the show. And this is called Dishing the Dirt. And so we've spoken a lot very highly about some people and some places. But now I'm going to ask you a sort of a series of questions, and I want you to name me whether it's it can be from like Attack or from New Wave or from Resurgence. I'll allow those three as like the main three. But like which member of the locker room it most reminds you of each question.
Okay. So I'll do my best.
So the first one is who's always running late?
Who's always running late? Fat Cat Lloyd Cat.
Yeah?
Yeah. 100%.
Does he always have an excuse? Is there always a good excuse or?
No. Terrible excuses.
Oh.
Always late. Yeah.
Oh, Lloyd, what are you doing? You gotta big it up. You gotta at least have a good excuse, right? If you're gonna be late, you gotta have like something imaginative, creative.
You just got that comedic expression on his face, and
I feel like that's like almost like the puppy dog eyes joke. You know what I mean? Like where you're like, oh, I can't stay mad at you. Fine, it's all right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty spot on.
Love it. Brilliant. The next one is who's got the worst music taste? Of course, this is a very subjective question, but like, you know, if you're traveling with someone, or like, if anyone's playing music in the locker room, or does anyone just put music on that you're like, no, what is this?
I think for the most part, people are pretty good. Yeah, we tend to have a good time in the car when we're traveling from Wales. I'll say James Ellis purely because some of his like entrance music choices have been pretty bad, and his choices for songs for like music highlight videos, some of them are pretty questionable. So we'll say James Ellis.
Love it. The next one's a lot more positive. It's who's the comedian of the locker room? Who can you always count on to make you laugh the most?
Splits McPins.
Oh, Splits.
He's someone that I imagine to fans probably comes off as quite quiet, but he is absolutely hilarious and a total prankster.
I think you see that sort of in the ring, don't you? When he's in the ring, you sort of see it. But you always wonder what someone's like, you know, like in the locker room backstage. But it's good to know that reputation holds up. It's good to know.
Big time. And he's somebody that kind of riles me up, and then I become a bit of a prankster as well. So we're bad news together.
Bad influence. Brilliant. The next one is who brings like the best food to the locker room, whether it's like snacks or like maybe like a pre-show meal or something. Does anyone ever bring any food in that you're like, oh, that was a good shout, I wish I had that?
Oh, do you know what? I'm a terrible person to ask because I'm always really like on plan with my food, so I tend to ignore what everyone else is doing so I don't get tempted. What
do you have? What do you go pre-show?
Oh, I'm always the boring Tupperware man with chicken and rice. I'm never anything exciting.
The classic. Yeah.
I'll say ring announcer Jade Warford is good for snacks though.
Yeah?
Always got something.
That's always handy, isn't it? I think that gets you over with the locker room as well, doesn't it? It's always handy when you've got snacks to hand out.
Definitely.
The next one. Okay, so the next one is the one that I'd say is probably like the one that could potentially get you the most heat, depending on who you say. But again, given the fact that we just had Brendan on, I'm very intrigued to see who you say, to see if you say the same person.
Oh, okay.
So we're not in the ring now. We're talking out of the ring. Mm-hmm. Who has the worst dress sense?
This is tricky, right? Because to most people, it's probably great. But I'm going to say Harrison Bennett.
He said exactly the same.
Yeah.
Brendan said exactly the same. He said it was like the jacket. He said the jacket is just too much.
Yeah. he wears some interesting stuff, but in his own way, you know.
Is it Marmite? Is it very much like there'll be some people out there that love it, but
definitely, it's the look. Just wouldn't catch me wearing it.
Yeah, Brendan said the same. I think his exact quote was, "It's a crime."
Yeah, maybe Brendan's a bit more to the point.
Yeah, he was very not shy about hiding it at all. But I'm glad to know you said the same as well. Like Benno's got to up his fashion game. Well, the next one is again on the more positive side of that. So I always say, like, it's you've forgotten your gear for a show, and we're in a hypothetical one size fits all scenario, and you can borrow anyone's gear in the locker room. Whose do you look at and you're like, I could pull that off? I'm saying this to someone who doesn't mind dressing up a bit as well, so I'm very intrigued to know.
I'd probably, the thing is, if you put that opportunity in front of me, I'm not going to choose someone that's got gear similar to me.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got to go out there.
Polar opposite. Yeah. I think Wild Boar always has amazing gear. Whether it would suit me or not is.
I was going to say the singlet is always an interesting one, isn't it? Like that divide between who goes for the trunks and who goes for the singlet.
Yeah, for sure. And Josh Holley as well is someone that always looks good.
You could keep it singlet though, can you? Or like you could go potentially like someone like Danny Luna again, like just all the colour. Do you know what I mean? Just go vibrant with it.
Get those straps up.
Yeah.
Look nice and jacked. Yeah, maybe.
Plenty of choice. You guys have got a good locker room for ring gear.
There's a lot of good gear down our way.
There's a lot of good gear. A lot of good gear.
Maybe I'd go splits McPins, get some pinstripes.
Oh yeah, the mask and everything.
Get
brilliant.
The mask on.
How is your bowling?
Absolutely terrible.
Is it? What are we talking? We're talking barriers up.
Oh, full barriers up. Roll it down the down the slide.
I haven't thought about that ramp in years. Oh my god, that is a throwback. Yeah. That's proper I can't bowl kind of etiquette.
Not at all.
Love it. And the thing is with those ramps though is you always need the ramp. Like the ramp does nothing. It always just goes off to the side anyway. Like the ramp does not help at all.
But it feels good and it's fun.
Yeah. You get to like run up and push it. You're like, oh yeah. It's a lot more satisfying. I agree with that. The next one I always say is like a little counterproductive to ask a wrestling locker room. But who's the most competitive?
Ooh.
Because I feel like you all are, but there's got to be someone who's like, whether it's in the ring or not, it can be like out the ring as well. Just like in terms of like socially, if you're like gaming or like playing sports or whatever. Like
out of the ring, I think I'd say is probably Brendan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
He didn't say himself. I can't remember who he said, but he didn't say himself.
Of course, he didn't say himself. But yeah, I'd say it's Brendan. He likes to be able to say he's achieved things and that he's the best at it.
Yeah, for sure. Get the one up on someone.
Yeah,
no, absolutely. Love it. The next one's back to this hypothetical world where everyone in the locker room has invited you to a party on the same night, but you can of course only go to one party. Who's you picking? Who in the locker room do you think would host the party that's the most worth being at?
That's a good question. If we're putting Resurgence in there as well, I'd say Gene Munny.
Oh, Gene would throw a great party, you know it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Then that's the sort of party you want to go to just for the intrigue of not knowing what would happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the Daft Lads Emporium party. That's where I want to be.
Yeah. Oh, that's where we all want to be. That's where that needs to come back. Show 2 of the Daft Lads Emporium needs to come back. Show 1 was already good. You need to get show 2 back.
Yeah, it was good. I missed the first one. So
we need a redo. Gene, if you're watching, bring back the Emporium. We need another round.
Let's do it.
And the final one is always my favourite. It's who in the locker room would you pick to be your partner in the zombie apocalypse?
Nico Angelo.
Oh yeah.
Every time.
Oh, it's a great shout. Oh, so brutal as well.
Yeah, he takes no shit.
Yeah. He's already got the weaponry as well.
Yeah.
Like you don't need anything else.
Club. He's ready to go.
You just push him in, let him deal with it. You can just stand back, be like, no, it's all right. You go. You deal with it.
Yeah.
I'll be here.
Sounds good to me.
It's what you got to be, isn't it?
Nico.
You got to think smart in the zombie apocalypse. You know what I mean? You got to think how you're going to survive. No point being a hero. Get someone else to be the hero.
True.
No, love it. Well, that's the end of that segment, but we got another fun one that we normally end with. Before that, though,
Yeah, cool.
I want to get into just a few other things in terms of like the year you've had and looking forward, because again, like you've had such a great 2023, and obviously there's still so much to achieve. But like, do you how sort of like early on do you set yourself goals in terms of like what the next year might bring? In terms of like, are you looking at it now being like next year I'd like to achieve this?
I am. I wouldn't say I normally do. I tend to be a bit of go with the flow, really. And I don't necessarily feel like the start of a year can be the point where you're making goals. I feel like there's always goals that are just ongoing.
Yeah.
But yeah, this year I do feel like, okay, there's things I want to do next year.
Is that like the symptom almost of having such a good 2023 where you can almost like, you got that confidence to be like, oh, I'm doing so well at the minute, this is where I want it to progress?
I think so. I feel like that's the good word for it, to be honest. I feel like I am the most confident I've been in wrestling this year. From the matches I've had, it feels a bit like proof's in the pudding there. So obviously, as well as wrestling singles matches, I've been tagging with splits towards the tail end of this year at Pro Wrestling Chaos. Challenged for the Impact Tag titles against Subculture, which was awesome. And like, it feels like we're on a roll with that. So I'm interested to see what we do in the tag division next year as well. So yeah, we kind of starting to plan some stuff for that and set some goals for that, as well as singles. And I think we're in a good position there because we have great chemistry as a tag team and we're both good singles wrestlers. So there's a lot we can achieve between us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say next year is looking exciting already, but
awesome.
There's some goals for sure.
Brilliant. That's great to hear. I was going to say, like, actually, I was going to bring it on in a couple of minutes, but as you mentioned it already, I want to talk about that Subculture match for the Impact titles. Like, obviously, like, I guess it's generally just a pinch yourself moment when you're challenging for the Impact tag titles, right? But I want to know, like, does it feel weird, the fact that you're challenging for the Impact tag titles, but it's like on an indie show with these guys that you've like come through with and known for years? Like, is that like almost a little weird? Like, hang on, like we've had this match before, but now it's for the Impact title.
Yeah, it was pretty bizarre. It was like the coolest thing ever. That show was awesome. It's like the first show that they've had in Ebervale in years and years. Like indie show. There was loads of people there. The venue was cool. And then it wasn't really until we kind of like got there that it dawned on us. It was like, all right, this is all cool as it is, but adding onto that we're wrestling for the Impact Tag titles. Yeah, it felt like a pretty big deal.
It's like that thing, isn't it? Like when you're coming through, like that's the goal, right? It's like you want to be challenging for like a major promotion belt, and then you're doing it, but you're still in like the place you were like before.
Yeah, it was weird. It's like the Impact Tag titles came to us for it instead. But yeah, it's always good being in there with like Flash and Mark and just like, yeah, it didn't really hit us until afterwards. I'd say we kind of had that little moment, had the match, got back to the locker room, and I kind of sat with Splits for a minute, and then we just kind of looked at each other and we were like, yeah, we just did that.
No, I love that.
Yeah, that was really cool.
That
was
really
kind
cool.
of like the start of the tag team, really. It was only our second match as the team. But yeah, it feels like since then we've just hit the ground running with it. So.
Yeah, got better and better again. Yeah, no, I love that, and that's brilliant. It's still like, I just love those like pinch yourself moments, you know what I mean, where you're like, oh shit, like hang on.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Again, I know each person's different, so I always like to ask people, like, are you the sort of person like where you can sort of like feel in the moment, like not necessarily like match by match, but say this year where you can take that step back sort of week by week, month by month, and look at what you've done and be like, oh shit, that was cool. Or like, does it take a while to like process everything?
Yeah, it's different for different things, I think. Sometimes you can see a graphic go up for a match that you're gonna have, and that's the point where you're like, oh wow, that's a big deal, I'm excited for that one. Sometimes it's not till after. Sometimes it's not until you watch the footage back of a match that you go, oh, hang on, that was actually a really cool thing that I've done. But yeah, it's nice that it can be either or, because it feels like you get little boosts in waves, which is nice.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. And you mentioned all the stuff like that you got like plans for next year, which is awesome. I'm not going to like push you for, bookings and stuff like that you might have that you don't want to reveal or can't reveal. But if we were having this conversation this time next year and I said to you, has it been a good year for Elijah? What would constitute that, like roughly in your mind? Like what would be a good year again next year?
I think it's really easy to get sucked into kind of like looking at milestones based on what everyone thinks is cool, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like titles and stuff like that, and like...
Yeah, and I have goals within that. Like, I'd love to be able to say I wrestled in Super Strong Style 16, for example. I'd love to be able to say I wrestled for Rev Pro. But also, I think, stripping that back a little bit, I'd just like to keep having great matches, which I feel like I've done this year.
Yeah.
Consistently, and having a month where I can honestly say I haven't had a bad match this month. And whether the internet sees that or not, or fans are talking about that or not, like, I know that that's what's happened this year. And that's given me confidence, and I think it's given me more value on a card that I didn't have before. So for me, I think, the goal for this year is to just keep doing that, and hopefully in time that value is seen by more and more people. No,
mate, I totally agree. I think you deserve to have that confidence in each other. Like you say, as a fan, I would look at it and think you've had a great year. Like the matches you've had have been fantastic. Like I would say some of the best you've ever had. So
thank you. Appreciate that.
I think and we'll tell you what, we'll here at Grapple Theory, we'll advocate for it. Lee McAteer, if you're watching, get Elijah in Strong Style 16. We want it. We want this. Make it happen.
I'd love
Make it happen. I'll send him this clip, and if he doesn't get it done, I'll be very upset. But we'd love to see that. We'd love to see that. That would be brilliant. That would be brilliant. This next part, we're coming up to Christmas. And I always do this little, like, sort of Christmas feature. But I always ask people, like, just content-wise in terms of building up for this, in terms of every year, I ask our guests around Christmas if you've got a favourite Christmas memory. And it can be, like, it can be happy, or it can be sad, or it can be weird, it can be, like, funny, it can be, like, whatever. But, like, a sort of poignant Christmas memory where, like, whenever it comes around, like, whenever Christmas comes around, like, that's the memory that, like, sticks in your mind most fondly, or, like, most prominently.
Yeah. I guess I wouldn't want to necessarily shoehorn it into being a wrestling related one, but it does naturally work that Attack always have the mistletoe at Christmas. So we'll tend to do 2 shows back to back, and all of the roster will get together in between the shows, and we'll have a Christmas meal and kind of like do Secret Santa. And to me, that, because we've done that for the last 6 or 7 years, that's when it feels like Christmas. Yeah. Like you were saying, you don't like to get to Christmas too early, but it's always, that point is where Christmas starts for me. We do mistletoe. It's usually like around kind of, the 19th, 20th of December, and then that's it. We have that Christmas meal as a roster all together, and then it's Christmas time.
Nice.
So yeah, I think for me, it's mistletoe. That's what I think of as soon as I think of Christmas.
I love that. Do you rate yourself as a Secret Santa? Do you rate your gift getting ability?
No, I'm terrible at it. I'm so bad. If whoever gets me this year, I'm sorry. I'll say that now.
Amazing, brilliant. We'll have to find out. We'll have to find out who you got, and then ask them how you did.
I'll report back.
Brilliant. Well, that takes us back to the podcast, into our closing feature, which is getting to know a little bit more about you, but not as Elijah the wrestler. This is more about yourself, and a get to know you kind of feature that we call Anatomy of a Pro Wrestler. And it's sort of like just a what makes you kind of thing. So again, like with the Dishing the Dirt, I'm going to pose you some questions, and you let me know what comes to mind. So the first one is, what is your favourite post-pinfall pig out?
Oh, that's a question.
Again, we're talking like anything's open. Like, what would be your... Because I appreciate the fact that most of the time it's McDonald's, because that's all that's open. Yeah. But like in this scenario, it's whatever you want. What would be your go-to?
I love a good stone-baked pizza.
Nice. Like
not too greasy, just like the right amount of crispy with some good toppings, and I'm happy.
Like a proper pizza, not like a Domino's or something. Like a proper pizza.
Like a proper Italian tasty pizza.
Nice. I'm gonna out her here, because a while back we had Nightshade on the podcast, and she was exact opposite. She was like, no, don't give me the stone baked crap. I want like the
I want the dripping
Yeah,
wet
exactly.
dominance. Yeah. I do like that too, don't get me wrong, but post wrestle maybe not.
What do you go for topping wise? What's your go to?
Oh, I switch it up as often as I can, just because I like pizza a lot, so I tend to eat quite a bit of pizza. So
yeah,
the more I can switch it up and keep it interesting, the better.
Nice.
I had one recently that was chorizo, onion, and tender stem broccoli, which I didn't think would work well on a pizza.
Tender stem's the outlier there. That's a weird one.
Yeah, it was really good.
Was it? That's bizarre. Yeah. I've seen broccoli on pizza before, but not tender stem. Tender stem seems like it's a weird choice.
It's strange. It's like the whole length of the slice.
Yeah, you almost got to get it just to like for the intrigue, right? You're like, how does this work?
Yeah, it was great though.
No, I like it. I like it. Interesting. If I see it on a menu, I'll know to order it. The next one, they're not all food related, I promise, but the next one is also food related.
Making me hungry.
It's you're like, well, it's nearly dinner time, isn't it? That's fine. That's fine. I am as well, to be fair. I've already got like my dinner on. I can smell it in the background, and I'm like, oh no. It's the worst thing. I shouldn't have done it. It's bad. It was a bad call on my part. But the next one is it's the classic, like, what would your like death row last meal be?
I answered this question for someone recently, so I'll give the same answer. It would be a really big lasagna and a garlic bread.
Nice. A good lasagna is really good.
Yeah.
I think the key question for me though is the garlic bread. Like, do you go like garlic bread or do you go like the pizza bread?
Yeah, I'd go like the flat bread, like pizza bread.
See, I can't do that. Like, I feel like that's everyone's go-to, and I can't do it.
No, you're a full baguette man.
Yeah, I like the baguette. I can't lie, I like the baguette. I'm just like, I don't know. Normally I get garlic bread with pizza, and so I don't want pizza with my pizza.
Yeah, you don't want just a pizza with garlic on it.
Yeah, exactly. So I just feel like I feel like it's different enough that I can be like, no, it's not the same thing. It's fine.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
But yeah, no,
if it's lasagna though, I'm going.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I rate it. I do like a good lasagna. The next one is what's the song that gets you the most hyped?
That's an interesting one. It changes all the time. I really like my entrance music, which is "Fly Again" by Turnstile.
Yeah, Turnstile are a great band.
Great band. Love all their songs. I've used like various songs of theirs over the years for different music, and but yeah, that song just gets me pumped. So that's why I have it as my entrance music. I was like, why am I just listening to this before I go out to something else to get myself fired up when I could just come out to it and
just
do it
get fired up then? Yeah, get it all done.
Yeah, so I'd say yeah, "Fly Again," Turnstile.
Nice, great choice. The next one is the movie that I'd show the locker room.
Ooh, that's a tricky one. I'm trying to think if there's anything like. I don't have any like niche movie go-tos.
It doesn't necessarily need to be a niche. I always say to people like it doesn't need to be like your favorite movie necessarily, but just like the one that you think everyone should see. And like I wouldn't feel any pressure because we've had some terrible movies named in this, like some awful ones.
If it's comedy, I'm going Step Brothers, just because it's like the most quotable movie of all time.
Yeah.
If it's something maybe a little bit more serious, I'd go Watchmen.
Yeah, both great films. Again, in their own right.
Really quotable movie, but in a different way.
Yeah, in a very different way. Definitely not the same thing. Definitely wouldn't see Will Ferrell in Watchmen.
No, although now I want to see.
No, that would be great, wouldn't it? I tell you what, that crossover would be something. Love it. The next one's a bit of a throwback because it's your first job.
My very first job, which I only had for 2 days, was working in a donut shop on Barry Island.
Oh, why did that not work out? Why were you only there 2 days?
It was a job I did while I was in school, and I got a trial weekend and it didn't go very well.
Oh no, what happened?
I just wasn't very good at it.
And then, okay.
My clothes absolutely stank of like donut batter for about a week afterwards, so I was kind of glad I didn't keep the job.
The thing is, I feel like when you're younger though, that's got to be like that's the thing that wouldn't bother you, you know. You'd be like, oh, I'm gonna smell like donuts all the time. It'd be great.
There's probably a like Lush spray that smells like that now. That you have to pay 25 quid for. So.
Donut batter scented.
Yeah.
And then you'll get it, and all the memories will come flooding back.
Exactly.
Was it in the summer though? I imagine it was in the summer, right?
Yeah, like height of summer.
No one's going to Barry Island in the winter.
No. Super busy, like ice cream, donuts, queuing out the door. Yeah. Wasn't for me, that one.
No? That's a shame. That's a shame. We could have entered you in like whenever we do the Great Brit Rest Bake Off. That could have been the thing. That could have been a moment. That could have been the making of Elijah winning the Great Brit Rest Bake Off with donuts. Not to be. It's all right. It's all right.
Not.
Okay, well, fair enough. The next one gets a little deep because it's your greatest fear.
Fire's pretty scary, isn't it?
Fire's a little scary. No one talks about that enough. Fire, I don't even like having I don't have it now. Like, I used to have like a gas hob. I hated that. I'm like, shit, what if I leave the gas on and I don't know if I have the gas?
I'm not quite so bad with that, but yeah, big fire is pretty scary.
Yeah, fire. Fire's. No one mentions fire, but fire's like fucking dangerous. We're just too used to it now. Everyone's so used to fire, they're like, nah, it's fine. But
yeah, fire's pretty terrifying. Nothing else like jumps immediately to mind.
No, that's fair. I think fire's a good shout. Fire again, it's like a very under the radar shout that I think we should all be more scared of than we are.
Yeah,
we've just become far too used to it. But that's fair. That's fair. The next one's a lot more positive because it's your favorite animal.
I never used to be a cat person until I got a cat, but I'm a cat person, so
nice.
Cat every time. I love cats.
That's cool. Yeah, I rate that. I rate that. Like, cats are adorable. Dogs are pretty cute. I didn't like pets until I met my partner, and she's made me like just animal obsessed now. And I'm like, just every animal I see now, I'm like, oh, but like 5 years ago, I was not like that. I was just like, oh, it's fine, it's cute, but whatever.
I was kind of the same, but no, I love a cat.
Yeah, they change you, don't they?
Companions.
Just like pets change you generally. Like, it's just weird having like this little furry thing in like the corner of your room. You're like, I would die for you.
Definitely. Yeah,
no,
I agree with that.
I rate it. The next one's the only wrestling one on this list because it's your favourite match stipulation.
Ooh. That's a really hard one, you know.
If you want, you can give me two. You can be like the first, your favourite to wrestle in and your favourite to watch, if they're different. Or does that just make it harder?
I love watching a good ladder match.
Yeah.
Favorite to be in. I don't know. I've had a few no DQs that have been pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
You can be a little creative with those, can't you, as well, in terms of like what you use, how you use it, things like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice.
We'll go with that.
Yeah, I like it. Two good choices. The next one's only a couple more. The next one's your favourite place in the world.
I'm quite lucky where I'm living that I'm quite close to the sea. So I do enjoy just sitting by the sea.
Nice.
So there's a nice place here called Sully. That's just a small village that runs along the seafront. So I tend to go there quite a lot just for a walk if I want to clear my head and just sit and listen to the waves. So yeah, I'll stay there.
I love that. Yeah, having used to live by the sea myself, I vouch for that. Like, there is nothing better than just literally being able to like walk out your door and be like 5-10 minutes from the sea. Like, fuck, this is pretty cool. I didn't really fully appreciate it until I moved to London, and now I'm like, shit, that was actually a huge benefit.
Yeah, for sure. We're lucky here, like on the coast.
No, it's a good one. And the last one on the opposite end almost of that is your dream holiday destination.
I really want to go to Iceland.
Nice.
Never been, but it looks amazing.
Yeah.
So, Iceland for sure.
That's a good shout. That's like an explorer holiday.
Yeah, have a look around. It just looks like a beautiful country.
Yeah. So, I was saying, we've had far too many wrestlers on the pod who like, I just feel like a wrestler should be like a relaxed holiday kind of person. Like, you're all really adventurous, and I'm like, give your bodies a break. Come on, like, just take the rest.
Sitting still for like an hour to do a podcast is hard.
Yeah, like, oh god, I'm not doing. What am I doing?
We're bad at like just resting. So
no, I get
you. It's got to be a whole day of exploring for sure.
No, I get you. Well, I appreciate the hour you've taken. That brings us nicely to the end of the podcast, and I got to thank you, Elijah, so much for coming on. I hope you've enjoyed it.
I've had a great time.
Brilliant. That always means a lot. Thank you. We always end with a relatively new feature we've got here on the podcast, where our last guest leaves a question for our next guest.
Oh, wow.
And this comes out of you, like, very out of context, because I don't tell you who has left it.
Okay.
But having been left it, I'm going to be shocked if you can answer it fully, because you're not the sort of person who I would anticipate would have a great knowledge of this subject.
Okay.
But, so the question you've been left is, and feel free to make one up if you don't know, is if you were a tarot card, what tarot card would you be?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I have no idea. That is not not my forte. I don't know.
You can feel free to look them up if you want, if you need to look some up. But like again, I had no knowledge of it. Like I was like, oh god, like I hope like someone good is planned for this who knows this, because I'm gonna have no idea.
I think it's better if I don't look it up and I just make something up.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna say the tarot card I would like to be is Reaper Rabbit.
And what is that? What does that
it's
signify?
probably a tarot card. Symbolizes evil joy.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I like that. That feels like it could definitely be a thing. That's the thing. Like you feel like that could easily be like an actual card. I'm not sure in what way you interpret. That's the thing, isn't it? It's the interpretation of evil joy.
Yeah. That's
like, are you happy because you're being evil? Or are you like being joyful in an evil way?
Yeah, it's all open to it.
Brings us back to the prankster side, though, right? Brings us back to the prankster side, maybe.
Yeah,
I like that.
So.
I love that. I'll send the person who asked that question that answer to see if it's a thing, see if that's anywhere near a thing, and if it is, that'll be wild. But I'll get your question for our next guest once we stop recording. Sure. But that does bring us to the end of the podcast. Elijah, thanks so much again for coming on. We always end the pod by giving our guests one final bit of promo time. So whether it's at Attack or Resurgence or New Wave or anywhere else in the country, anywhere else in the world, if someone sees you on a match poster, on social media, on a show near them, why is Elijah going to steal the show?
Oh, that's a tough one, because I'm always on the card with such talented wrestlers. But no, I'm going to bring the energy. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to work hard, and I'm just going to, go out there and kill it and have a good time doing it.